Viewers of The Pioneer, how are you doing? I hope you're healthy and well. As the Pioneer team, we continue to bring the developments regarding Russia and Ukrainian war to your screens. In a moment, we will share with you an important achievement of the Ukrainian armed forces. As it is known, one of the most important areas within the framework of the war is the economy. And within a war with only military assets is a big dream. Military assets must also be supported economically. Since the beginning of the war, the Ukrainian armed forces have been striking big blows to the Russian Federation with their strikes. In recent days, units of the Ukrainian armed forces have again carried out significant attacks on Russia's economic resources. As a result of these attacks, Russia's economic losses have increased considerably. As it is known, the Russian Federation was already going through a difficult process due to the sanctions imposed. With the moves of the Ukrainian armed forces against the Russian economy, this progress has become even more difficult. So, what are the consequences of the Ukrainian military's latest moves against the Russian economy? Let's take a look at developments together. As the Pioneer team, we continue to share our reports on Russia-Ukraine war. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our daily reports. You can also support me and my team by using the super thanks button below the videos. Let's start if you are ready, the Pioneer reports. The war between Russia and Ukraine continues both in Ukrainian territory and within the borders of the Russian Federation. On the one hand, the Ukrainian defense forces are fighting to stop the Russian army's offensives on the Ukrainian territory, while on the other hand, they are trying to weaken the Russian occupation force by hitting Russian targets behind the front lines. There is also the Free Russian Legion. Of course, Legion troops are still operating within the Russian borders. However, I will discuss this situation in our next report. In recent days, drones of the Ukrainian armed forces have once again moved towards Russia. As I have been saying since the beginning of the war, the drones' capacity of the Ukrainian military is critical, and the Ukrainians have really changed the paradigm of the warfare. Many of the techniques that the Ukrainians have developed for drones are now being used in almost all the active theaters of the conflicts around the world. This time, the Ukrainian army drones were targeting the Krasnodar region. How often have we heard the name of this region? So the Ukrainian army have managed to hit this region several times with drones, and it seems that this has happened once again, and the Russian defenses did not break the tradition by failing again. According to the regional sources, in the morning, drones of the Ukrainian armed forces took off from their bases to strike Russian oil refineries in the Krasnodar region. According to some sources, the situation was even worse for Russia. These sources claimed that oil installations in a wide area of Russia were targeted, including Ryazant and Perviv, Zavod south of Moscow, and Rostov region bordering Ukraine, Nizhny Novgorod and 300 miles east of the capital, and Kreshi near St. Petersburg. This is a very serious situation, we can put it this way. The Russian Federation really has a huge capacity in terms of national energy resources, and the Russian leadership is using this capacity to meet a large part of the Russian economic needs. Any decline in this capacity or loss of the power poses a great threat to the Russian economy. So let's look at this in this way. The Russian leadership knows that the Russian economy is in a difficult situation because of the sanctions. So how does the Ukrainian army's attacks on strategic targets of the Russian economy shape the process of the attacks on the Russian economy? The explanations are quite interesting. Experts believe that Ukraine is a successful chess player. So it's a bit like a chess game and we are watching. We don't really know what the real tactics or the real intentions of both sides are. But we can say that the drone strikes in the eastern Donbass region are aimed at disturbing Russia's ability to deliver refined products, especially diesels, to the local region. This is very important in terms of the supplies in the troops in Ukraine. Meanwhile, the attacks on the fields further north in Russia have a negative impact on the oil that is likely to be exported, which in turn reduces revenues. The Russian economy is already facing a difficult situation, and such attacks by the Ukrainian army are pushing the Russian economy to the brink of the bigger crisis. As it can be seen, the attacks by the Ukrainian armed forces are considered quite successful by experts. Russian oil refineries are reported to have suffered heavy damage during the latest attacks. According to some sources, production at most of the oil refineries had been suspended, definitely due to the attacks by the Ukrainian drones. However, it is not possible to confirm these reports at the moment. Well, statements from the Russian sources also indicate that Russia is uneasy about these attacks. The latest statements of the Russian sources on the subject are as follows. So we can say that the attacks on the oil refineries are more problematic than attacks on the fuel depots. Attacks on tanks caused only short-term tactical problems due to the burning of fuel, but oil products can be easily replaced. The strikes against refineries, however, were more serious because there were technological complex facilities whose repair was complicated by sanctions restricting the supplies of the Western oil refinery and refining equipments. The refineries were forced to suspend operations, but causing the price of AI-95 gasoline on the St. Petersburg International Commodity Exchange to rise to its highest daily level in the past 6 months. As the Russian sources say, the impact of these attacks have been numerous. By targeting the Ukrainian armed forces behind the front line, they paved the way for the Russian armed forces to further increase their resources requirements. As I've stated at the beginning of this report, war is not won by the military presence alone, and a strong economy is also an important factor in winning the war. If an army is not backed by adequate economic support, winning a war is nothing more than a big dream, and Russia must strengthen its air defenses that if it wants to win the war. However, it is not possible to observe that Vladimir Putin, the president of the Russian Federation, has such an intention at the moment. His primary goal seems to be preserving his power. According to experts, the Ukrainian armed forces will increase their attacks on the targets inside Russia's borders in the coming days, and at the moment, it is not known what the scope of these attacks will be. However, it seems likely that the Ukrainian armed forces will carry out a series of operations that will put the Russian economy in a difficult situation again, and time will tell us how effective these attacks will be. So, what do you think? Do you think the Russian economy is in a difficult situation? What do you think about the Ukrainian attacks inside Russia's borders? And how do you think the Ukrainian government plans to hit the Russian economy? Do you believe that the defense capacity of the Russian army is low? Do you find the drone attacks of the Ukrainian armed forces sufficient? Let me know in the comments, because you know that I read and I care about all of your comments.